Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. There are nights when the past refuses to stay buried, when the ashes of old sins still glow faintly in the dark, waiting to be disturbed, waiting to breathe again. In the Twin Cities, those embers are stirring. What once burned bright has cooled to memory, but memory has a way of catching fire. Old alliances, forgotten debts, and ghosts of the dam all smolder beneath the surface. And those who seek to uncover them may find that some flames never truly die. Hello and welcome to Vampire the Masquerade, Twin Cities by Night Embers, the fourth story in the ongoing chronicle of Twin Cities by Night, a tale of what remains when the fire fades and what's left behind to burn. Tal, you are at this house in this gated off suburban neighborhood, and you know that William has just left to go off and take care of what he wants to do. You feel your Nokia cell phone make a little buzzing sound and vibrate in your jean pocket. So it's a text message. You see it's a text message. And you recognize the number as Annabelle's number. And she said, "Are you okay with meeting up tonight where we first met?" And you know, when you see this message, it brings back this memory of when you were first presented, for lack of a better term, to rest of your clan about a year or two after you were embraced. You know, we have discussed before, and you had mentioned throughout this long history of ours of this game, where initially when you were sired almost in a similar fashion, right? Than William just did by
Mm-hmm.
your sire, by bugs, right? And then you were left to figure it out on your own, and then eventually they found out about your existence, right? And when that initially happened, you met the three members at the time of your clan that were in the Twin Cities: Bugs Dupati, Aaron Whiteside, and Annabelle Carter. And you met them at this place called Hidden Falls Regional Park. It's on the north side of the Twin Cities on the outskirts. It's it's a place that really, to the best of its ability, resembles a wildness of nature that the city was probably carved out of long before you or anyone else was around. It has walkways and groves of trees, and this it's a national park, for lack of a better term.
So Kaitai will look at it for a long, long moment. He'll weigh his options quietly, and then he'll, yes, tonight? Question mark.
You wait a couple minutes once you type it out, and you see a response pop up in that LED, green lit LED, and it says, "Yes, in 1 hour."
He'll just type back the letter Y. Then he'll get up and he'll sort of just like start pacing for a bit. Warren, I'm getting heading out for a bit. Should be back in a couple hours. If I'm not, well then, I'm heading to a park. I'll give him the park's name. If I'm not back, then don't trust Annabelle.
Okay.
And I think he'll go to like the fridge where we've emptied out of food. And he'll like get a big thing of like animal blood that I mentioned last time. He's been buying. He'll drink some of the animal blood. Just even like just shuddering even though because it's not human and it's not piping hot fresh. So it feeds him, but it doesn't satisfy in any way, shape, or form.
So, and I understand, right, that it's repulsive, right? And you mentioned you were pacing earlier, and I kind of want to get back to that and the repulsiveness of this and the whole situation at this stage. Do you trust Annabelle?
I think he trusts her enough to go there to meet her. He doesn't that and he doesn't know he doesn't know that that she's good. Doesn't know how competent she is at avoiding being followed. So he trusts her to not just try to kill him on the spot, but he doesn't trust her enough to not think someone else like she he thinks he might trust her, but doesn't know how good she is at not letting anyone else know.
Is he starting to feel caged up now? I mean, like with the blood that you just had, with like not knowing if you can go out and talk to someone without them being followed, without feeling there's a, like a threat.
And I think it's like a weird combination because I am building up to something. Because actually, how many blood points can I get back? Because I am about to spend. I do have a 4 in protein now.
I would say you'd get one from like those bags, right? Because the most you could
Okay,
take
yeah,
from a
that's
human
fair.
without killing them. Yeah. So good pick.
So yeah, and now I have since I have. I'm gonna say like this is like something Kaito just managed to learn. I'd say after he went and buried Cynthia,
Okay.
that he finally unlocked the fourth, like the proper animal shape.
Oh, okay. So being able to shift yourself into that of an animal.
Yes. And so I think this is like Kaito, he's like, I think this is time. I need to fully properly use this because I he's heard Bugs mention this, I bet. And he's heard even from Annabelle and Aaron Whiteside that they've probably he's heard they can do this. But he's never he's heard stories, he might have seen it once, maybe like Aaron did something years 1 year, but he has never tried it himself. So now he's gonna like go into the backyard, make sure like all the walls, the high enough walls, and he'll dig deep. Yeah, spend 1 blood point. Okay, so yeah, he'll spend a blood point that he just got from the animal blood,
Hmm.
and for a second, nothing happens, but then it's like his body. You hear bones start shifting and snapping and popping, as all of a sudden his form starts shrinking. His clothes seem to sort of like sink into his skin and then sort of vanish into like thin air as he just starts shrinking and like twisting as his bones become lighter. Like feathers starts popping out of his beneath his skin. A beak starts forming, and then before long, there's this large black crow or raven. I forget what the difference is, and just on the thing, just it's sitting there in the backyard.
It's wicked. So I would even add almost like I could even think that like you knowing that you now have this capability almost became instinctual too, right? It's not even like it's almost like you felt this urge that honestly would I mean I think we could even equate it to how you're feeling pent up, how you're feeling caged in, how the beast is probably has shackles up inside of you now, and the threat that you're facing from everything around you, that you kind of feel this instinctual ability now to do what you did. Now, of course, like you said, you probably heard, you know what I mean, heard about it or whatever, but it almost was like, I would even say like the moment you realized you had to get out of this protective shell of this house, that you felt it unlock in you almost, like, okay, if I have to go out beyond the walls of my protective haven, I'm going to do it the most discreet, safe way that I can and limit the threats, available to me. Right.
Yes, because yeah, in his mind, he's thinking, he's paranoid that the princes, the Sabbat guys are trying looking for them. He doesn't know what kind of people or cars are out there trying to watch this place, but a bird flying off at night, that's a lot harder to track.
For sure.
And so then yeah, Kaitel will like take a moment to like get used to his new form. He's like, and if I think it feels freeing for him almost because he's like, oh, then he starts flapping, starts flying.
I
I'm
would
free.
imagine too that like I feel like it would also free your consciousness of the stresses that are tied.
Yeah, definitely. It's like it's like his human mind is still like in the back, but it's quieter now, and now it's all the worries and stress is they're still there, still present, but like that's muted now. For a few minutes, he's just having fun for the first time in years.
Well, yeah, I can imagine it's almost like those dreams we have, right?
Hmm.
Like where you're flying and you can look down upon everything that is below you. And I would even say, like, it's almost hard for you to imagine that there's any threats that are down there. Because what you're seeing now, I would say, is almost like a thing of beauty. It's almost like you're able to finally see this environment that you've been in your whole existence, mortal and undeath, and you're able to see it from a brand new perspective than you ever have, because you didn't have an easy childhood. You didn't have an easy mortal life, right? We've talked about the foster homes that you constantly went through, right? The lack of stability, the loneliness, right, that you felt even after your embrace. And now it's like you said, I would say, I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I'd say it's almost the probably the first time in your whole existence that you felt carefree, that you can remember feeling carefree, right? Would I be wrong in that?
I'd say he's had a few moments, but it's definitely like, like top five moments of carefreeness for him. He's like, oh, I didn't know I could feel this good.
Yeah.
And then I think, he spends probably like, like good, 20 minutes to half an hour just enjoying the freedom before he, oh yeah, no, I have to go somewhere. I have to focus on stuff. And and he's like, it takes him a bit again to like, navigate this new directions to, and he's like, okay, no, I know how to drive there, but how do I fly there? Oh, so that's street. He's like, oh yeah, well this is kind of easy. I'm looking at, it's like looking at a map.
Let me ask you this. When you are getting closer to this park, does that feeling start to dissolve a little bit?
I think it starts to fade. It doesn't start fading until he like lands in the park. It's like, oh no, I have to change back soon. I have to go back to being, on two legs, trapped by everything that's going on. And for a moment, he genuinely considers, oh, did I just leave?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, yeah, what emotion do you feel like and we'll talk about like when you land and everything, but like what's the first emotion, the moment that, and we'll talk about when you go back to your form, right? But what's the emotion that you feel when you're back to reality?
That his thought is that, oh, this is dangerously addictive. That, oh, I can't do this too often. If I do, I'm just gonna lose myself into this. Even just, you know, so he thinks back to like, like he thinks this is how people get addicted to drugs stuff. Like it's tempting to just forget all his troubles and just lose himself in this sensation. But he's like, but I can't. Not yet. I can't. Need. I still have stuff I need to take care of, and he's, as he. Oh yeah, I'm still hungry for blood. And this costs me every time, so I can't just do this freely.
Because
And
I
that
would
sort of helps ground him back to like, okay, blood reminds him of people how he has to feed, how he has to make sure he doesn't kill anyone else, and that sort of like helps ground him again.
because I mean, it's such a complete contrast to the creature of purpose, right? That we talked about in the last session, how Cacao now is very singularly focused almost on the path of not losing himself, right? And now you have this new thing where you can lose yourself to the beast. So that battle almost is going to be more pronounced now than ever, right? Like like
Yeah, before it was I don't want to lose myself because I hurt things, I hurt people. Now it's like, oh, I might lose myself because this feels good.
jeez. And yeah, that's going to be lead to interesting the conversation I have planned here, right? So you come flying in as this crow, and you from the distance can see the lushness, right, of the forestry and the trees, but you see the, for lack of a better term, the entrance to the hidden falls. It's a parking area. I wouldn't call it a parking lot because it's not paved, but it has like white gravel stone that spread across it, and there's these wooden stumps that look almost like they're tree trunks that have been cut very short, that are along the outer edges of this parking area, that have like chains that string between them to
Hmm.
prevent people from parking, beyond that. And right now I would say it's probably like 10 in the evening, 10:30 in the evening. So there's hardly anyone that is ever out in this area at this time. And you see, as you're flying above, there's this ran down Jeep Cherokee. It is, one time was white, but the paint on it has been chipped away and rusted due to like the weather, you imagine, the salt, the elements of the Twin Cities. And you see there's this woman who is leaning against the hood of it, standing up. She's wearing these brown corduroy pants, and you see that she has kind of like a polo shirt on, like an older polo shirt that's fashionably worn by usually by younger women, that has like green stripes across it, and it's white in this predominant color. And you recognize as soon as you see her that this is Annabelle. You can tell by her red hair that she has at shoulder length, right? You can tell by the frame of her figure, the silhouette that the shadows that it throws against the parking lot from these random, kind of like illuminated lights that are in the parking lot. And you see that she's alone at this moment as you're flying above. And there's a second where you see her look up, and you realize that there's almost like this moment of recognition, right? Where almost like an instinctual wavelength that you can't explain, that scientists can't explain, that creatures on this earth somehow are able to detect, right, when something is close by. And there's a moment where she's looking up at you, and then you see she just kind of goes back to like looking down at the parking lot or whatever, almost in a patient manner. Go ahead.
So
Scene.
yeah, I think he'll like circle around once just to give like everything a once over look. And once he's satisfied that there's no one else around, then he'll land and transform back into human form. Again, bones popping and twisting, the feathers start sinking back into his skin, and finally there he's there, looking at Annabelle.
And you see she's looking at you at this moment, almost the flaw that you have, where it's hard for you to read the emotions right now off of people.
Hmm.
I would almost say like a lack of empathy a little bit in its truest form. She just seems to be observing you when you come walking a couple of feet. You hear that crunch of that white rock underneath, and she motions you towards the path, and she's like, "You want to go for a little walk?"
Sure,
So
got time.
she turns and starts going down this path. And for like the first 2 or 3 minutes, she doesn't really say anything. She's not walking in a hurried rate of speed. She's just kind of walking in a leisurely way,
Pace.
pace. Yeah. And, the path is only really at this stage illuminated, right, by the moon that's out. That's kind of a quarter moon, right? And the stars but in the nature of you both, at least in her nature, she feels more comfortable, right? Kind of like in this environment. And she says to you after a couple minutes, she says, "Well, we're in kind of a predicament, aren't we?" As she keeps walking down this path, excuse me.
Yep. They offer to let you make more gangrel yet, or are they waiting for that?
You see her like shaking her head for a second, and she says, "I really haven't heard much.
Doesn't surprise me too much.
Things are, I don't know. Do, this is a stupid question, but have you do you know anything about bees, Cal? Have you ever read anything about bees? Learned anything about bees?
Uh, in science class once in school, they get honey, they have a queen, they die in the winter.
Yeah. Well, you ever hear about what happens when like a queen is removed from a hive?
No.
And she keeps walking not stopping while having this discussion. And you see the path kind of curves a little bit. And when the path curves and you guys are walking along the path, you start hearing the sound of water. She says, it's really kind of crazy in the fact that a queen, and she stops for a second, turns and looks at you. When it dies, it's almost like reverberate. It's almost like there's there is a loss of purpose in the colony, and every bee reacts differently. There are some that leave and end up dying on their own. There are some that continue what they did before, but are unable to accomplish what they did without the queen's guidance or what the queen provided. There are those that instantaneously die knowing that their purpose is gone, and it just becomes chaos embodied. Once that singular queen is removed, the whole house of cards falls. I think that's what's happening now. And she turns and starts walking again, expecting you to follow.
He does. Yeah, that sounds about right. To continue the metaphor, did you also know there are wasps outside the hive?
And you see she turns, oh, looks over her shoulder, and you could see like her teeth, or the moon almost like radiates off her teeth, and you see a smile kind of break through her face. She's like, "Do tell, please share with me."
Well, the other night, actually, let's say about a week ago now, maybe 2 weeks, I and some others, the exiles, we were going to meet somebody. Instead, and then he describes it as a bot encounter, and you'll see in Vidar, and you'll see the guy sink into the shadows and everything, and killing Ty, and and then they left, telling us just to let the prince know they're here.
And you see, as soon as you finish that, she stops. And the moment that she stops, she turns and looks at you, and she motions you to go around this bend. Like you see, there's the path that goes around,
Uh-huh.
and you can hear the water is more pronounced. And the when you look around the bend, you're hit with the memory of when you first met her, when you first met Aaron, when Bugs took you here after he found you after a couple years, after the guilt of what he did overcame him, and he reached out to you after watching you for a while. It's this rock formation that's in the middle of this park. It's a natural, almost waterfall, for lack of a better term, a minute waterfall that that is there. The rock outcroppings and this pile of boulders and different shapes of stone go about 20 feet high, and you can hear the water trickling down to its base, right where you see a stream that goes off in the distance, but you can see the water is reflecting the moon and the stars that are currently out. And it's almost like you have 1 foot in the current and 1 foot in the past. But this time it's just you and her. And it hits you now, right? That one is dead and the other just disappeared. And she says, "Do you remember when we first met, Katal?"
I remember thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to go into like a den of wolves and prove how tough I was. Then you were there. No offense, but you don't exactly seem like you have to. I don't seem like I have to be bigger and stronger than you at every second, otherwise you'll eat me.
She smiles at you, and she just takes the compliment, right? What as it's meant to be. And there's a moment where you're looking at her and the smile doesn't mean anything to you, right? But then the fear that goes through her face almost seems to ripple through her face does. And give me a do me a favor, and I hate to make you roll right now, but I want to make you roll perception and empathy roll, please. Difficulty 6.
Okay. Perception and empathy. 7, 8, and a 9. So that's three
Three
successes.
successes. You realize that her armaments against the world are starting to collapse. And you feel like what you told her like a minute ago about what you witnessed, you see now she's barely holding it together.
He'll sort of lean forward a bit and just, so you know more than just scary stories about those guys, huh?
And she shakes her head for a second, not like a no, but like, and she's trying to gather her thoughts, right? And she says, I I I don't know if I could do this anymore, Katal.
Thinking about leaving?
I'm, I mean, this. What's the point of all this? Like, is we have eternity of this?
At that point, I think Kaital will start breaking down a little bit. He'll start just giggling, then he'll just start full on laughing, and then he'll just keep at it for a bit, and then you know what you know what when I figure out an answer to that, I'll let you know because I have no fucking idea.
And you see for a second she's looking at you confused, right? And she just kind of like gets a smirk on her face, and it's a confused look, right? And she's like, I feel, I feel sometimes that I was used by Aaron, that I was forced into this because he simply didn't want to do it anymore. I feel that even what if we were to leave, Katal? What if we were to go into our car and just go on the 35, right? And what if we went to, I don't know, what if we went to New York? What if we went to California? What if we went to wherever? Do you really think it's any better than any of those other places? Do you think the hunger goes away? Do you think the accidents go away? Do you think
Kaital will just be quiet for a bit and just no, I really don't think that. I think it's just there's more probably in those bigger cities, so You just get more everything, more of this. Just the only thing that changes is how many people are involved. Instead of just two of us, it'd be five of us, eight,
So then
and
what do
then
we
then
go
two
ahead?
would die. Then we would have to replace them, and then it keeps up again and again and again and again.
This place,
Mhm.
and she motions to the rock formation, covers up where Aaron told me that he was given this. Supposedly there was a cave here at one time. There's a system of caves, and he was brought here against his will. And he was brought over by, I still don't know to this day. He never explained to me fully, but I could see it in his face, Katao. I could see like in his the way that his eyes stared off, the way that this stoic figure started resembling again someone like us. But he made it sound like that thing that brought him over met its end, and he was forced to make it work here. But after whatever happened in 45, it fundamentally changed the way that he viewed the city and how it offered him solitude and protection. He made it seem like to me, and the ways only that he can, that those types that you mentioned, and especially these pale riders that he mentioned before, they came here and caused havoc and destruction. But he made it sound like what happened after that in the name of what we have here, that was even worse. And that's when things started to decay and fall apart. And he became disillusioned and he became detached. And I think the death of Bugs was it for him. But here's the thing. And she leans closer. Not everything is as it seems here, Katal.
What do you mean?
There are those like us that they don't know about, that these Primogen don't know about, that stay here, that live here, that are hiding, like Carlos. So what are our options here, Katal? Do I walk into the sun and just say fuck it, or do we take control of this situation? Do we do what we know will protect us? That would make people like Aaron come back. Because if we something's happened, something is happening, and things are becoming chaotic, and things are happening that we don't understand. So what do we do about it? There's no way you could continue your existence like it is now here. So we need to decide.
That we do. I can tell you right now, I don't think those Sabat things are a viable option. They're dangerous, and I don't just mean to us. I think from all the stories I've heard from back in the day, they are worse than animals. But they, I hate to say, there might be opportunity for right now. So we know the prince. We know the Sabat. Or at least you know of them. They hate each other.
Do you think the prince is the poison root that's causing all this to happen? I mean, he's the one who had to have called what's happening to you now, that excommunicated you and the other two.
I don't know. There, there was something going on with he'll start talking about the Echo projects and how Max and all that other stuff that's going on. There's another game going on underneath all this, but I don't know if it's worse or if I don't know if it was just a byproduct of the prince.
You went to the Echo Projects, and you see for a
Yeah,
moment, like she's like intensely looking at you.
yeah. There, there was a. I might have helped cause small riot there. I wasn't involved in it at all. I just
You,
drove the people there.
you see her eyes open for a second. That's the domain of Ogden.
Who?
He's one of. It's like you see she looks up at the sky for a second with her hands like apart, like she's trying to find a way to communicate the impact. There's two in the city that I found that play along with what Philip wants, but you know that they're just doing it and patting him on his head. It's Ogden and it's Rita Giovanni.
And that name, Kaitan, sort of like his hackles raised a bit. Okay.
But
I think it's honest safe to say that no matter what we choose to do, there's gonna be a lot of dead vampires in the next couple of weeks. So the only question is, how do we make sure we're still alive at the end of it?
that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I hate. I feel like there needs to be a regime change.
Kaitan sort of straightened his head right up at that. I've been thinking the exact same thing.
The question is, how do we do that?
And that's something I've been also trying to think about. In a perfect world, we could just simply let the Sabbat kill Philip and then just clean up the scrap afterwards, but I don't think it'll be that easy.
I think
So I
there's
think what we got, I do think that if the prince doesn't already know about the Sabbat, he needs to know because they're an issue. And as much as I hate Philip, I think right now he has the best chance of causing them issues and vice versa, them causing him issues. So as long as his attention is on them, that gives us room to move.
well, and you see a moment she's looking down at the ground and she looks up at you and she's like, Aaron did tell me of someone who's in the city who used to be part of the Sabbat. I
Who?
think his name's Jake. And I think it's
J-
time that you meet him.